Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Chad Dison and I am specialist with IM Team, a cybersecurity company located here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. In this web series, we will look into the need for role-based access control or RBAC, as well as implementing the solution. So role-based access control is when a user is granted a role which gives them access to a specific resource. These roles will be defined by your job description, responsibility within the organization, and your authority. So let's look at an example here. We'll look into ACME Corporation. ACME has an identity access management solution that is in place for years. They have a centralized provisioning workflow and policies. They are able to quickly onboard new hires as well as off-board employees that leave the company. Provisioning of accounts is done through the assignment of roles. However, they have not spent a lot of time in role design. So they pretty much create a new role whenever a new system is onboarded in the IAM solution, or whenever a new job function project is defined by the business. Oftentimes, roles are created with very minimal consultation with the business. As a result, they have hundreds of roles with similar names and overlapping purposes. A recent audit at ACME revealed that they have these following risks: excessive access given to users and segregation of duty violations. Unfortunately, the situation at ACME exists in real-world organizations. It is often caused by help desk analysts getting confused on which roles to assign users with. Role definitions are created on demand with very little consideration of role design. IT defines and creates these roles with having no knowledge on the business.
To solve this problem, we take on the enterprise role methodology. We plan, we discover, we define, and we certify. In this episode, we will be going through Alan Wake as the new user within ACME Corporation, requesting a role that has not been entitled to him, and see if this becomes an access entitlement risk or not. So on previous episodes, we discovered the relationships between permissions and the users, analyzed possible role candidates between these relationships, defined these role candidates as organizational roles for ACME Corporation, and aggregated these roles into one single role. And lastly, provision this newly created role to the new user who is Alan Wake without the risk of access entitlements. So let's get to it. So I will log in as Alan Wake. I could see my current entitlements, and now I want to request a permission other than these. I want to choose Active Directory. For this example, let's say purchase of product. So as Alan Wake, I could request this purchase of product role, and it would depend up to my user manager or the risk manager if they would approve or reject this role. I could also see that the risk indicator is on. If I take a closer look at this, I could see it's an access entitlement. However, in some special cases within the company, this may be valid. So let's submit our request and go to the next step. And there you go. So the request has been submitted. So in our solution here, IBM's IGI, if an employee requests a role that is a risk, it gets escalated to the risk manager, and if the risk manager approves this role, it gets escalated to the user manager. So now let's log in as the risk manager. So as risk manager, I can see Alan Wake's request here. I can see Alan Wake has a risk status on. He is violating the access risk entitlements. He does not have a due date on. So I have three options as the risk manager. I could approve, reject, or mitigate this request to another employee with the same responsibilities as the risk manager. For this demo, we're going to approve this request so we can see what actually happens when it gets escalated to user manager. So now let's log in as Alan Wake's user manager. So as the manager of Alan Wake, I could see that Alan Wake has had a request. If we take a closer look, we can see that the risk manager did leave some comments, so there is no due date for his request. Now let's take a closer look.
We will reject this request because Alan Wake did not put a start date or an end date for this specific role. So now if we log in as an administrator, we can take a look at Alan Wake's account, and there is no risk indicator on because the permission has been rejected. And there are no other entitlements within this role. And there you go, everyone. That concludes this 5-part demo series in role-based access control and ensuring that users does not have access to risk entitlements. Thank you, everyone. I'm Jad Dizon, and I'll see you guys on the next one.